Hello, everyone. My name is Zuri Johnson, and welcome to my podcast. And here today with me is my roommate, Amari Phillips.
How we doing? Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. On today's podcast, we will be talking about WWE, but specifically the digital discourse communities of WWE. You guys at home and Amari are going to be learning about these communities about WWE. I hope you can take away from my podcast today that WWE has different digital discourse communities that play different roles, right? So I'm going to start off today by how WWE has an impact in my life and when I became a fan. I'm going to tell you a story. I vividly remember the exact moment I became a WWE fan. It was the summer of 2014, and I was in a hotel room trying to find something to watch. I stumbled across Monday Night Raw and started to ask, what is this? I had heard of WWE before this moment, but never actually sat down to watch. It just so happened to be my lucky day because that night on the episode of Monday Night Raw was the night that Seth Rollins decided to turn his back on The Shield, which was his tag team at the time. I'll never forget the words that Triple H uttered that day. There will always be a plan B. Then boom, Seth Rollins hits Roman Reigns in the back with a steel chair, ended what could have been the greatest tag team ever. It was a moment when I said to myself, this is something I need to keep up with and never drop as an adult, right? So, Amari, after hearing this, I want you to talk about your experiences with living with the roommate who loves to watch and talk about WWE. When it comes to me or Jose or Lachlan, my other roommates who like and watch WWE, what are your experiences, about that?
I mean, every time I walk by, you guys gathered around on the couch, watching some sort of WWE event, whether it be I don't know what they're called, but the ones on the regular weekend or the big ones like Royal Rumble or something like that. You guys are super excited, and I'm definitely envious of that. I think it gave me insight on the WWE community. I didn't really know much about it. I mean, I definitely still don't know much about it, but if I walked into the house and saw all you and the other roommates gathered on the couch watching some guy jump off the ring to another guy. I mean, you guys are super excited for it, so obviously it's engaging to you guys, so anyone walking by would stop and just look at it. I would watch for a minute or two with you guys and then continue on with my day. Definitely hearing you guys talk about it. You talk about the online community and stuff like that, ESPN alerts and Bleacher Report, accounts that normally are for sports related, or mainly the main U.S. sports, football, basketball, etc. They start to mention WWE stuff as well, which gets my attention too on social media. But I'll hear you guys talk about certain things that you saw on Instagram or something like that. And it keeps me in the loop and gives me at least the chance to be as much in the loop as I want to be. And I can say right now it's not really engaging for me, but it's just the fact that you guys being excited about it, it constantly being a passion for you guys, gives me the opportunity if I wanted to join the community.
Yeah, I 100% back you up on that. I'm a part of these communities. There are times we are gathered around the TV, very locked in. There's times I don't even touch my phone. I'll put my phone across the room because I'm locked in on watching what's going on. And obviously that comes with, just developing knowledge and expertise through these online communities. Like I said, I'm a part of an Instagram group chat. I look at that every day. We talk about it. Some of the questions we'll ask would be, name your top 5 wrestlers of all time, or Mount Rushmore. That's a big one. Or if a premium live event is going on, Survivor Series was just 2 weekends ago, right? The Royal Rumble is coming up in a month and some change. I mean, that's one of the biggest events of the year. We talk about those kind of things. I tend to listen to podcasts. I'm on Reddit, I'm on TikTok. I'll look at Facebook. I'll go to Twitter. Everything's like that. These are all examples of digital discourse communities that I'm a part of or that I have seen. And I know lots of other people who are a part of those. My other roommates are also a part of those communities too, and I hope one day maybe you'll join these communities with me, Amari. But it's okay if you're not. I got a couple questions for you here. So, what brings you to other sports besides WWE? Like, why do you like sports outside of WWE, and why does it take your time away from it?
So that's a good question. So I think, which kind of goes hand in hand, why I don't necessarily like WWE is the fact that I guess there's a nostalgia aspect to these other sports. I mean, I started playing football when I was 5 years old, and football's just been a part of my DNA till now. And it's just super engaging for me and stuff like that. And also with basketball too. My dad was a big basketball guy, so even though I'm not as close with basketball, it's always engaging for me, and I could always sit down and watch the entire game with no trouble, no worries. I think the second part to that is just being a sports fanatic in general. I just like watching athletes play at the highest level, like peak performance. And I don't want to say that and take away from wrestlers because I feel like they're athletes. The Rock is a big guy. He can definitely put me through a wall. So,
sure.
I'm not saying he's not an athlete, but I feel like outside looking in and seeing that in these other sports, they're I guess I don't know if genuine is the right word, but genuinely competing for their win or their history or their legacy or their name. I feel like in WWE, they're not really able to do that because the script is already made for them. So I feel like that's something that, as a competitor for me, takes away from the entertainment that WWE would bring compared to the other sports I watch.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard people say that. They say, "Oh, it's like fake." It's not fake. When you see someone get put, I'll admit most of the time they pull their punch. You can tell when it's fake, but when someone jumps off like the top rope, that hurts. When you see someone jump down through the announce table, that's real. When someone gets hit with the steel chair or put through a table or something like that, that stuff hurts, And then obviously they're like trained athletes. They've done this before. Yes, it's scripted, but I feel like that's just like a part of it, really, I feel like it's like watching like a TV show, a constant TV show, Yes, it's scripted. Yes, they're acting, but you still don't know what's going to happen next, really. It makes you want to tune in, right? Like I like to imagine like the premium live events as like season finales, I like to imagine like that, like it's the height of it. Like this, they gets nothing better than this. Then they go left on and like the end of it, at the end of the shows, there's cliffhangers. Somebody returns. Someone's turning heel. Someone turns face. Someone is betraying someone. So stuff like that, that's what draws me to it. So like, are you interested in like anything that resembles the WWE, like the UFC or like boxing? Like, did you watch like the Mike Tyson Logan Paul fight? Are you interested in UFC, like John Jones or like Conor McGregor or anything like that? Or is it just you need a ball and some shoulder pads or putting something in the hoop to watch sports?
So I definitely have a growing interest in UFC, thanks to our other roommate. But I think the difference with UFC and WWE, I feel like, is like, as we talked about before, that pulling of the punches. And kind of going back to my other point before with UFC, these people definitely trade around the year, stuff like that. I'm not taking any credit away from the WWE people, or I shouldn't say people, wrestlers. But these UFC fighters, we firsthand watch them when they fight each other, and when they get in the octagon together, they punch, and they punch with intent and purpose, whereas in WWE you don't really see that. And although they're both for entertainment, I think there's more on the line for UFC fighters and boxers. Like I watched Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. I watched them go at it all the time. That was my first introduction to combat sports. But yeah, I think there's more on the line for UFC and boxers, whereas in WWE, I don't think there is that much on the line. I think there's like a safety net in terms of future health and stuff like that, whereas in UFC, they know what's on the line, and I think that's different.
Yeah, that is a big difference. Like UFC, to me, UFC is the closest thing we're going to get to the Romans and the gladiators fighting. There's nothing more than that, than putting two crazy people in an octagon and tell them just to fight.
Yeah.
Just like that. Like, choke each other out. stuff like that. There's nothing, nothing gets closer to the Romans and gladiators like that. So now we get to the fun part of the show. I'm going to quiz you on your WWE knowledge, right? I'm going to play you, we'll keep it easy today, two themes. Two themes you probably haven't heard before, and we're going to see if you can guess what they are. I'm going to play the first, 7 seconds of it. So, what's this first one?
2 for 2.
Two for two? Here we go. He's an older wrestler from the 2000s. His prime was the 2000s.
Okay. I've got to guess. I mean, I guess. What do you mean guess? I'm confident with my answer of Triple H.
It is not Triple H. It is Batista.
Oh, I was close.
He was close. They were in Evolution together, but that is wrong.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
This is the next one. Let's see who this is.
Okay, this is interesting. I definitely heard this one before, but I don't know where it's from. Is that Randy Orton?
No, this is not Randy Orton. That was actually Triple H's.
Oh, come on.
Triple H goes by The Game. That is his nickname. So that theme song is called The Game. 0 for 2, but at some point you'll learn about it, right? And you know how to learn about this?
How I do that?
Through digital discourse communities.
Okay.
Such as these online communities, streaming services, podcasts, YouTube channels, and attending the live events. All these fit under the category of key inroads, right? We'll start with the social media platforms. As you mentioned before, ESPN, Bleacher Report, First Take, all those kind of social media platforms, X, Reddit, Twitter, all those kind of things are all social media platforms that WWE is actually heavy on. Actually, on every Friday night, WWE #SmackDown is what their event is. It's the #1 trending hashtag at the time, which says a lot, right? Streaming services. You can find almost lots, if not every WWE match on either on Peacock or on YouTube. And beginning of January, Monday Night Raw is moving to Netflix. So everyone that has Netflix, you just click on Netflix and you can tune on to Monday Night Raw. It's live, straight like that. It's nothing. It doesn't get easier than that. Another example would be podcasts and YouTube channels, right? As a podcast as you have right now, and YouTube channels, there's millions of YouTubers out there who just sit and talk about WWE all day, who actually have, like Logan Paul's a WWE wrestler. He has a podcast, and he brings wrestlers like Roman Reigns onto the show. He brought Rhea Ripley on the other day. Batista. He brings all people like that to attend his podcast and for his YouTube channel. And obviously, attending the live events, going to WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling event of the year, WrestleMania. Survivor Series just passed, right? That's one of the big 4 events. The big 4 events are WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Those are the big 4, right? So obviously attending live events would help you learn these theme songs, or returns. Let's say you're at a live event and you hear a theme song you haven't heard in 20 years. So someone's coming back, someone's returning. And how you know whose theme song it is? Through these discourse communities, in my opinion. So, Amari, I want to thank you for your time today, for doing this podcast with me. Before we go, what are some things you learned and can take away from this today?
I definitely learned that there's a lot more parallels than I thought there is to other sports. I think you bring up a great point where you, even though there is some sort of a script, you as the viewer don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that's important to understand because the same way you watch WWE, I watch football games and a team can be 10-0 and a team can be 2-8. and you could think you know the script of the 10-0 team just going to go in and win, and the 2-8 team go and win.
Especially if it's a division game.
Especially if it's a division game. So, so I think that is definitely something important that brings to the value of WWE, and it's easy to say, oh, I know what's going to happen. This guy's the fan favorite, so he's going to win. And I haven't watched a lot of WWE, but I'm assuming that's not always the case, and that's what keeps fans coming. So
yeah. Well, for our viewers at home, I can say that we went over the different types of discourse communities that the WWE has and what roles they play. Obviously, the different types is the social media platforms, the YouTube channel / podcast, the attending live events, the streaming services. All these play different roles. All these play different roles towards the WWE and these discourse communities. So you can never miss something, right? You're always probably going to get a ESPN notification. You're going to get a WWE notification. You're going to get a Bleach Report notification. Now, that is growing at a higher rate. You're always going to get that, so you can't really miss it. And as for the listeners at home, you guys should remember that WWE is going to keep on growing, and if you choose to begin to keep up with it, you need to join one of these communities. You have to. It's the only way to physically keep up. It is physically impossible to try to keep up with WWE if you don't follow their Instagrams. You don't look on Twitter. You're not on Reddit. You're not on Instagram. You're not kind of listening to podcasts maybe. If you don't know what's going on, you can't keep up with it. You can't just turn the TV on Fridays at 8 and Mondays at 8 o'clock and expect to know everything about the storyline, everything that's going on, right? You're not gonna be able to do that. That's not how it works, right? That's like tuning into week 12 on football and you haven't watched a single game all year and expecting to know what's going on, right? You're not gonna know what's going on.
Fair.
So, but thank you, Omari, for being here today, and thank you guys for listening at home. And I will see you next time. Anything you want to say to the people at home, Omari?
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. I love doing conversations like this, and hopefully we do it again.
I hope so, too. All right. Take care, guys.